You know something? I never think about it. I don't go, oh, I got Parkinson's. Because it's so mild. I mean, it's ridiculous. If I don't take the medication, I tremor a little bit in the morning. I mean, as long as I take the medication, I'm fine.
It's more the spine injury that's been hindering you versus the Parkinson's.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know how some goodbyes feel bigger than words? Ozzy Osbourne didn't just say goodbye, he staged it. In his hometown of Birmingham, sitting on a black bat-carved throne at Villa Park, he faced 40,000 fans and millions more online and gave them a parting gift no one could mistake. One last show, one last surge of will, one last conversation with the people who made him immortal. 17 days later, the Prince of Darkness was gone, dead at 76 from cardiac arrest and a heart attack, with coronary artery disease and Parkinson's listed as joint causes. The timeline felt eerie. The triumphant farewell on July 5th, the final Instagram post, then July 22nd. And if you think that sounds like a coincidence, just wait, because the details around Ozzy's final weeks don't play like an accident. They play like intention.
He was the ultimate frontman. And today, Ozzy Osbourne took centre stage for the final time. It was in this city that he gave birth to heavy metal, and a place where fans would do anything to get one last moment with the Prince of Darkness.
He chose Birmingham for Back to the Beginning, the place where Black Sabbath was born, the sound of heavy metal hammered out of factory noise and fog. Ozzy didn't stand. He didn't need to. He took the stage seated because Parkinson's had turned standing into pain. But the voice, the one that made Crazy Train, Paranoid, Iron Man feel like rituals, still cut through the air like a blade. He opened with solo staples, then reunited with the original Sabbath lineup, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, for the first time in 2 decades. A circle closed in the city that started it all. For the fans, it felt like church. For Ozzy, it looked like closure. And then there was the post.
I'm dying. It's a fact. There's no need for a doctor to tell me. That farewell performance was something I insisted on doing. I don't want to disappear silently. I have to say goodbye in person. I thought spinal surgery could save me, but it turned out to be even worse.
The day before his death, his Instagram didn't leave a caption or a monologue. It was a backstage dressing room sign from that exact show. Back to the beginning, the final show. No dramatic speech, no countdown, just the image of a door anyone could walk through and the hint that he'd already walked through it. It read less like nostalgia and more like a verdict. People close to Ozzy say he knew. Tom Morello, who helped produce and musically direct the event, called the concert a spiritual high point and said Ozzy seemed to understand this was his last bow. It wasn't morbid, it was liberated. He left everything on that stage, then even went to the after party.
So now, as far as where you at with the Parkinson's, you feel like you're in a...
You know something? I never think about it. I don't go, oh, I got Parkinson's. Because it's so mild. I mean, it's ridiculous.
If you watched him beam through Paranoid, it wasn't denial, it was decision. But here's what most folks missed while they were crying into their merch. This wasn't just a send-off. It was a gift. The show raised an eye-popping sum, reported at about $190 million, for Cure Parkinson's, Birmingham Children's Hospital, and Acorns Children's Hospice. The man the tabloids spent decades calling a madman used his final act to fund care, research, and comfort. That's not an accident. That's a statement. The music? It roared. Ozzy came up in leather and eyeliner, seated on that throne like a gothic referee calling one last game of thunder. Are you ready? Let the madness begin!
It's been wonderful. It's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs.
We can tell you that Ozzy will be making one more final journey through his beloved Birmingham.
That final journey begins at 1 p.m. in Ozzy's hometown. His body will travel by hearse, eventually heading here to Birmingham's Black Sabbath Bridge.
He rolled through I Don't Know, Mr. Crowley, Suicide Solution, Mama I'm Coming Home, Crazy Train, and then the Sabbath brothers locked in for War Pigs, NIB, Iron Man, and of course, Paranoid. A decade of health scares and surgeries couldn't touch the one thing that mattered. The connection between his voice and your spine. If you were there, you felt the floor vibrate when tens of thousands yelled that last chorus back at him. If you watched the stream, you could see him soaking it in, like a man taking pictures with his eyes. But this is where the story takes a turn, because between the fireworks and the tears and the final bow, something intimate happened backstage.
I've been in a miserable, with this injury I had in my neck. It's been really miserable for me, you know, because I mean, when you go for a rehab surgery, you don't think the doctors are going to screw it up, you know. I mean, you got to live with it, you know. They got
A beginning right next to an ending, Kelly Osbourne got engaged to Slipknot's Sid Wilson that night, backstage in the afterglow of the show. Ozzy got to witness his daughter's joy as part of his finale. For a family that grew up in the bright, sometimes brutal spotlight, that timing felt intentional, like one last father's wish checked off the list.
Think about the way he positioned the night. Back to the Beginning wasn't just a clever title, it was a map. Birmingham, original lineup, a set that passed the torch back to where the spark started. And those charities? Of course Parkinson's was on the list. Ozzy didn't hide from what was happening to him. He faced it and turned it outward into something useful. People remember the throne because it was dramatic. I think Ozzy liked it because it was honest.
I just get hammered all the time. Yeah. And now, I mean, I'm nearly a year without now, which is, I'm coming awake and I'm going, there are people here, you know. Not just a haze.
Is this what all happened before? Is it just a vague memory? Or?
I went into blackouts, which I didn't realise. When I went into rehab several times.
He wasn't pretending to be 25, he was telling the truth, and the truth still sang. You can argue whether the concert was fate or choreography, you can't argue the preparation. The reunion, the guest roster, the broadcast, the way the camera lingered when he blessed the crowd. God bless you all. Good night. Not see you soon. Not until next time. Good night, period. And with that, he set the terms of the goodbye. There's a quote from that night that stuck to people's ribs. I've been laid up for like 6 years. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. He wasn't performing gratitude, he was living it. That's the difference between a comeback and a farewell. Comebacks sell you tomorrow, farewells honor today. And Ozzy honored it with the steadiness of someone who had already made his peace. And if you think that sounds like Hollywood folklore, wait until you hear what happened next.
I remember exactly where I was walking down a road called Whitton Road in Aston. I had a blue transistor radio, and when that song came on, I knew from then on what I wanted to do in my life. I come from a working class background, and it was like we had people like Lonnie Donegan, who was a shuffle guy.
The official word came July 22nd, out of hospital cardiac arrest, acute myocardial infarction. The paperwork listed the long battle, coronary artery disease and Parkinson's with autonomic dysfunction. It was clinical language for a life that had burned white hot, then settled into a final glow. Tributes poured in from across the rock universe, cities dimmed their lights, metal kids in work boots played Sabbath riffs on battered guitars and said thank you the only way they knew how. Families chose playlists over eulogies. It felt less like a death and more like the moment you flip a record and start side B, all the same grooves, just a different side. Here's where the speculation kicks in, clearly labeled because Ozzy earned the truth. Friends and fans say the whole thing felt orchestrated. The hometown venue, the original band, the charities, the throne, the final Instagram post that looked like a plaque on a door marked exit. Tom Morello says Ozzy seemed to know. If you followed his story, that checks out. In a career full of chaos, Ozzy always found control where it counted, picking the right players, choosing the moment, hitting the note. Why should the ending be any different? This isn't conspiracy, it's craftsmanship. Because while the world argued about whether he could or should perform, Ozzy did something more radical. He told the truth about what he could do, and then did that better than anyone alive. He stripped the show down to what mattered. Not the run across the catwalk, not the backflip, not the scream for the sake of screaming. The connection. That's why he didn't hide the throne. It was right there, in full view like a crown in a confession. And still, he made thousands of people feel 19 again. The money matters because it translates a night into a future. $190 million is not a vanity metric, it's research and children's care and hospice comfort.
Due to Parkinson's disease, old spinal injuries, and advancing age, I can only move with the help of assistive devices, but with medical intervention and the support of my will, I can still participate in musical activities. Although the pain pain never goes away. Music is my painkiller.
It's a lifetime of thank you condensed into something other people can spend. If you ever rolled your eyes at the reality TV chaos or the tabloid headlines, this is the counterweight, a coda with receipts.
There's another piece that says a lot about the Osbournes. A BBC documentary, Ozzy Osbourne Coming Home, was set to air and then suddenly pulled from the schedule in the days after his death. Maybe it was logistics, maybe deference, maybe both, but it felt like the family wanted the noise to quiet down before opening the archive. For a man who just gave the world a perfect ending, it tracks that the epilogue would be handled with the same care. Now, let's talk about legacy, the kind that lives in muscle memory. Plenty of artists leave hits. Ozzy left habits. Guitarists learned to make their amps growl because Sabbath taught factories how to sing. Kids who didn't fit anywhere found out there was a uniform for misfits. Black shirts, loud hearts, and a grin you wear when a riff kicks the ceiling loose. Reality TV? Ozzy helped reinvent what a rock star looked like off stage. Messy, funny, human, and that cracked open the 2000s for a different kind of fame. He never gave you polish, he gave you Ozzy, and somehow, that was more durable. But legacy isn't just what you leave, it's how you leave it.
Ozzy didn't run the clock out and vanish. He faced the music, literally, and wrote the ending by hand. He made sure the right people were on stage, the right causes got the spotlight, and the right image went to his feed. A door with his name on it. One last time. No caption needed. The image did the talking.
And before we wrap, there's one final detail. If you listened carefully that night, you heard him bless the crowd, and you heard the crowd bless him back. That exchange is the whole story. The records, the awards, the headlines, those are artifacts. The real art is the feedback loop. A human voice meets a human sea, and for 3 minutes, the world makes sense. Ozzy did that for 6 decades. On July 5th, he did it sitting down in pain, smiling like a thief who got away with everything. Then he put the microphone down and left the stage with the same thing he walked on with: gratitude. Was it orchestrated? I think Ozzy would laugh and say, of course it was. Who else could end a career with the original band in the original city, turn a goodbye into a 9-figure charity windfall, surprise the family with an engagement, and post a door that looked like destiny? The madman wasn't out of control. He was a master of it. So here's the part that changes everything. Ozzy's final message wasn't remember me, it was use this. Use the songs, use the courage, use the proof that you can tell the truth about your limits and still do something impossible. Use the reminder that goodbyes don't have to be silent, you can bless a room on your way out. If you were one of the fans who held a lighter or a phone at Villa Park, you already know. For everyone else, press play on Mama I'm Coming Home or War Pigs and listen for the thing underneath the thing. A kid from Aston who figured out how to turn factory noise into freedom. That's the miracle, that's the secret. That's why a throne in 2025 felt less like a concession and more like a coronation. Rest easy, Ozzy. You did it your way, and then you showed us ours. If this hits you the way it hit me, do Ozzy a favor. Like the video so more people see it, drop your favorite Ozzy or Sabbath memory in the comments, and hit subscribe because we're just getting started telling the stories that actually matter.